Good morning, everybody. My message this morning is titled, What Are You Talking About? And so I put those looks up there and they experienced it.
Oh,
Steve Harvey
exactly.
makes a terrible face when people say dumb things, answers. And then that's from the movie, now I forgot what movie it was. Where, I don't know. It was another one. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's funny. I think he's hilarious. And his facial expressions just blow me away. But when I was a kid, I remember, talking to my mom and stuff, and then my mom would say, "What are you talking about?" And it was like, I thought I was describing and telling her something that really made sense, but she would act like, I was like goofy, or like I didn't know she didn't know what I was talking about. And it was really kind of annoying. And then, recently I've noticed that sometimes I'll be telling something to somebody and they'll look at me like they're saying the same darn thing. What are you talking about? In fact, I've had a couple people even say that to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is happening again in my life? And, it does frustrate you and stuff, but then you kind of have to go, what? Am I talking Chinese here? I mean, that's what I used to say to my mom, And so now I'm saying it to people. And it's amazing how communication can be so distorted in a simple conversation. Or maybe even you're telling a story about something, and then people start looking at you like, what? What did you say? But I feel like this sometimes, like when I'm talking about something, then people have this curious look like I'm not speaking English, like it's a whole nother thing. And I think that sometimes when people don't understand it, it's our own expectations of what we think they're going to respond like that get us hung up in that whole idea of feeling like they don't know what we're talking about. And so if we package all this together, then we see that there's some work we need to do. And we could feel like we're explaining something perfectly clear and that it all makes sense. But if the other person is not understanding it, then obviously we need to figure out a new way to explain it, or a new way to say it, or let it go, either way. But so what we do, what do we say during this experience, and how do we act? Because that's the important thing. Are we stopping to express ourselves without becoming frustrated, or do we grow in the energy we are perceiving and react in a negative way? And I would say 9 times out of 10, we do that. We grow in the energy that we're feeling from somebody else, and that person might even be thinking about something else, not even thinking about what you're talking about. Or how many times, and I'm not trying to throw men under the bus, but how many times have you been talking to your husband and then they say, what? Like they didn't even hear anything that you just said.
They did.
Yeah, exactly. But then you grow in that energy of feeling like you're being ignored or whatever, and then you find yourself in that crazy energy too. Well, we got to stop that. That's for sure. We definitely got to stop it, because we do this with so many people. We do it with our friends, our family, co-workers. We could be anywhere, in a grocery store even, trying to find something and ask somebody where that's located, and they look at you like, what? Yeah, I don't know. And especially nowadays with some customer service, or the lack thereof, we can get frustrated, and that frustration does nothing but cause us inner turmoil and takes us off the Christ center that we have within us. It moves us away from truth, away from God, and we don't want to be there. But spiritually, what are we missing when we go to that energy and we start reacting and stuff? Because obviously we're missing something spiritually, or else we wouldn't even go there. If we wish to correct that within us, then we have to find a spiritual law, or spiritual principle, or something that we need to work on to make it better for us. Well, I feel like the law of cause and effect is a great place to start. And from the Revealing Word, Fillmore defined cause and effect like this: the law of sequence, the balance of the universe. This law, like all other divine laws, inheres in being and is good. Okay? And then he goes on with, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Man lives in 2 worlds, the world of cause, the within, and the world of effect, the without. Now this is a little different than some of the other definitions you'll find. But looking at this, and this is so This is so crazy. Because I swear to God, I wrote this like 2 weeks ago. But I like to think of it as like this description as being like the Wheel of Fortune. I'm doing game shows.
Right.
And when the players come up and play the Wheel of Fortune, it's a guess. They spin that wheel and it lands on something, and if they're lucky, it lands on some good money, and they guess a letter. And maybe the letter is correct, but maybe it's not. And it's all kind of looks like a game of chance, but really it's cause and effect. They spin the wheel, they get that money. If they pick the right letter, then that's cause, that's effect. It's a simple definition of looking at them. And when they're really attentive to the puzzle and they're really attentive to the wheel, a lot of times they get it all and they win the whole prize, which is, what we hope to be like in life. But that divine law is within us. The law of cause and effect is within us. That's what Fillmore said, that it inheres in being, which is us, which is our spiritual side, and is good. And we don't always think about cause and effect as being good. A lot of times we think, oh, I touched the hot stove, which I did do that this week, and burn myself. That's a cause and effect. If we don't pay our mortgage, they're going to take our house, aren't they? Mm-hmm. If we don't drive correctly, we'll either get a ticket or worse yet, get arrested or get in a wreck. These are cause and effect. So we look at these things and think, well, those aren't good things. Touching the hot stove and getting burned isn't a good thing. So how can we look at that definition where it says, and is good, and have these things happen? But this is the human aspect to our own thinking and our own way of being. Because had I been paying attention more, and remember that I just took a pan off that hot surface, I wouldn't have burned myself, and everything would have been good. I wouldn't have had that effect, would I? Nope. And so we have to pay attention, and we have to remember that these spiritual laws in effect are here to help us discover the good, to help us bring forth the good in our lives. Then we can understand that things happen in a sequence, meaning if we do this, the result will be that, like I just said. If we touch the hot stove, we will get burned. So things happen in a sequence. But we know if we don't touch the hot stove, we won't get burned, right? Exactly. It's the same thing with interacting with people. We have to realize that if they're not understanding us, then we need to look, and we're frustrated by that. We have to stop and not be frustrated and change how we communicate. Now, another definition of cause and effect I found is from IQmatrix.com, and it says this: the universal law of cause and effect states that for every effect there is a definite cause. Likewise, for every cause there is a definite effect. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Absolutely.
That sounds easy, simple, kind of a circular thing. Your thoughts, behaviors, and actions create specific effects that manifest and create your life as you know it. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes.
Totally sounds like a unity principle, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And here it was just on a random website. But what it's saying is that it's our responsibility to make the law of cause and effect work correctly. And when it becomes our responsibility, it starts with thoughts. It starts with the words. It starts with the actions. So whatever we're putting out from us has to be in alignment with the idea that the law of cause and effect, which is a spiritual law, is working in and through us at all times. Now, another one I found is from O'ReillyMedia.com, and it says similar things. Everything happens for a reason. For every effect, there is a specific cause. Aristotle asserted that we live in a world governed by law, not chance. And I would say that he probably even said at one time spiritual law, but this is the definition they used. He stated that everything happens for a reason, whether or not we know what it is. He said that every effect has a specific cause or causes. Now, I would say this is still making a responsibility on us for what we do or don't do, or what we say or don't say, or what our actions are or what our actions aren't. Whatever it is, we are responsible from the very basic thought. And we have a choice of how we're going to live and how we're going to manifest. Now, a lot of people would say that that's karma, and that's a whole other talk, and I'm not going to talk about karma today. because I want to stay focused on the spiritual law of cause and effect, because it can really help us move through our everyday living from a different perspective. All of these definitions, though, are similar, and yet I think this is important to remember. Oh, no, I got to go back, sorry. Oh, no, I bet I left that out of there. Yep. Okay, I want to say this. One key point here is that Fillmore's definition, he calls the law of cause and effect a balanced will. And that balanced will, he said, is all in every one of us and is good, just like I pointed out. And so all this that we have within us, our thoughts, words, and actions, we want to stay focused on good, because that's how we're going to manifest that law correctly. And if we don't, then guess what? We're going to manifest things that aren't pleasant, like burning your knuckle or whatever. But when we stay aligned with truth, then we can experience good all the time. So I found this reel the other day, and I got lucky. I hadn't been able to do this before with reels, but I saved it a certain way, and I got to be able to go and copy the thing and be able to bring it through to the PowerPoint. And that's why I missed a slide somehow. But this is the reel, and I think it really is kind of profound about how, cause and effect works. But here you go.
Tommy?
Yes, come on in.
How you doing?
Good. 23rd and Broadway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go. How are you today?
Doing good. There's so much to do. So much to do.
Whoa, watch out!
Whoa, that was close.
My goodness.
How are you so calm and so friendly? This guy almost ruined your car and sent us to the hospital.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. People are like garbage trucks.
Really now? How's that?
Well, they run around with garbage, and they're full of disappointment, full of frustration, full of anger. And when the garbage piles up, they need a place to dump it on. And sometimes they'll dump it on you. But you know what? You don't take it personal. You just wave, smile, you wish them well, and you move on. Don't let their garbage spread to the people at work, at home, or on the streets. You love those who treat you right, and you pray for those who don't.
Wow.
See, now life is 10% of what you make it. The other 90 is how you take it.
Wow.
Did you like that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good. It really is profound, I feel like. And the guy, when the guy gets in the Uber driver's car, he already has that energy going, doesn't he? Oh, I'm in a hurry, I'm trying to get stuff done.
Exactly.
And so he has that hurried up energy. And then when they start to go and the Uber driver slams on the brakes, the passenger gets all worked up, like, oh my gosh, that could have hurt us, that could have, and then the other guy gets out of the car and starts yelling and stuff. I mean, how many times have we all done that in a car that tried to pull out in front of us or something? But really, the whole time the Uber driver's staying calm. And yet, that's what the energy started with. He was calm, the other guy was hurried. The guy that stopped real suddenly, he was obviously angry and upset and frustrated, and he was letting that garbage just be dumped onto the Uber driver. But the Uber driver was in that frame of mind where he wasn't going to accept it, where he wasn't going to take it. And that's what I'm talking about. If we live in the law of cause and effect, that is not going to be the result that we're going to have. We're going to stay calm, and we're going to see beyond any kind of condition, anything that is happening. And when the guy, the passenger said, "How can you be so calm?" I felt like the Uber driver stopped for just a second, and you got to watch it maybe another time to catch it, but looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" There was nothing to react to, because that was not me doing that energy. It was that guy doing that energy, and obviously he needed to do some dumping at that time. But then he goes on to explain and state that people can be like garbage trucks, which, again, the passenger was kind of like, garbage trucks, what? But he said hauling around a lot of anger, frustration, and disappointment. So we don't ever know why somebody's driving erratic, or we don't know why somebody's angry, or we don't know why somebody is depressed, or we don't know why they seem like they're putting it on us when it's all about them. Right. And that's where we have to take that breath and call forth the law of cause and effect and know that whatever is their cause causing them to be how they are is not going to affect us at all. And almost like an armor coat. But then the questions become for us in this moment, how much garbage are we hauling around? And who have you been dumping it on? Because we all have done that, haven't we?
Yep.
And we never know. We never know where it's going to show up. But that's why we have to work a little bit to clear out that garbage. We have to work a little bit and say, hey, I do not want the effect of anything that I do to be like dumping garbage on somebody. Right. Like the garbage truck is just dumping that. Yeah. Have you ever been to a what are those called? Landfill? They are nasty. Disgusting. And I don't want that stuff anywhere near me. Do you? Mm-hmm. No. And so even just thinking that visual to me says, hey, that's not who I want to be as a spiritual being. That is not how I want to be on this human existence of life. So the other point that he made, though, was don't take things personal. And I think that's huge. He kind of threw it in there. But it was very profound for me because I thought, that's what happens. Our expectations are so high of other people. And then when we hear something that we don't like and they're not getting it or whatever, then we take it all personal and we all start reacting from this place that it should even happen in the first place. Because if we truly want the effect to come from our inner cause, that our inner cause being spiritual, then the effect is always going to be spiritual. Right. And we're going to stay calm like that Uber driver did. We're going to enjoy life like the Uber driver did. We're going to see from a new perspective. When we make something personal, and sometimes we don't even realize it, because we question, what are you talking about? We go back to that first thing. What are you talking about? Somebody could say it to us, or we could say it to somebody else and sit there and go, start building that frustrating energy, that energy that isn't healthy, that energy that causes the disruption in our life anyway. And all we have to do, and the other thing is we put it on somebody else. It's not, we're not just taking the breath and saying, oh, wait, maybe I'm just misunderstanding. No, we start thinking it's somebody else's fault. It's not ours or whatever. But everything that has happened in our life, believe it or not, up to that moment, like that guy jumping out of the car, whatever had built up to that moment in life where he jumps out and starts yelling is showing up in that moment. So you don't know what your past transgressions can cause you to react to in a certain moment. And you have to be able to realize that the past is the past, but at the same time, if you're looking at the law of cause and effect, then you have to look at it in a new way. Because if we want a new effect, then we must have a different cause, meaning we cannot hold on to any past discretions. If we're holding on to something, we're going to keep reacting, aren't we? Yep. But if we let go of it, something new happens. Something new happens. And it's going to be what? It's going to be good. Yeah. I know we all want to resolve this in our lives. Any kind of transgression, anything that we find that shows up that causes us to react and stuff, because we don't want to be rolling around like a garbage truck, do we? Nope. Hauling all that junk all the time and then dumping it on somebody when it's not even, their fault. But there's several things we can do to remind ourselves to keep the law of cause and effect in our lives. And one of them is the expectations of situations. We can look at expectations from a new light, because if we think about the law of cause and effect and that it's supposed to be good, that all the effects are supposed to be good, then we know that our expectations should be good, that they are from God. So I have this definition of expectation from the Revealing Word, and it says, anticipation of divine good. If all of our expectations are good, how many times have we gone over to somebody's house, or we're going to get together with family, or we're going to do this or do that, and our expectations start making us churn because we're nervous. Oh God, the last time I was over there, that was an awful experience. Or last time I talked to her, I got mad at her. Now what is she going to be like? I mean, all these different things our expectations can make it already build up to a situation of cause and effect that we don't even want to experience. But we can cause ourselves to be in that balance wheel that isn't balancing, because then it'll start looking like a wobbly bicycle wheel. Looking about for the wondrous benefits God has prepared for us. Anticipation of divine good and looking about for the wondrous benefits God has prepared for us. Anytime we're put in a position where we are experiencing something that maybe brings up something uncomfortable within us, we take that breath and call forth the law of cause and effect and say, okay, right now I know that I'm going to walk into a wondrous, blessed situation.
Right.
No matter what happens, I'm going to see that God has prepared a beautiful place for me. And my expectations are going to be divine, and they are going to be good. And there's not going to be anything that's going to rock my world, because I want the effect to be
Good.
good. Yes. We're using your name. But wouldn't it be great if our expectations were always like the Uber driver? And they can be.
Yes.
They can be. By pulling that forth, by getting ourselves trained into that idea of calling it forth. And we can allow our little m minds not to get in the way. Because if we take a breath and come from spirit within us, then our little minds are going to go, oh yeah, that's right. That's who I want to be. I'm not going to let that other stuff bother me. I'm not going to get personal with it. I'm not going to let it be some attack on me. I'm going to take a breath and go, the effect is going to be good, always good. And in that sense, we can go into a conversation already with the question, what are you talking about? If you're in the other frame of mind. But however, if we go into a conversation not taking it personal, we will have a different outcome, won't we?
Exactly.
We can be and do like the Uber driver advised. He said, love those who treat you right and pray for those who don't.
Yes.
I know you've heard me say that before, because I say love everybody. And I said, take a breath and pray for those that you might not feel as close with or whatever. But I love this part too. Life is 10% of what you make it. The other 90% is how you take it. Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely.
And we can take it how? Take it as good. That's right, because we are going to emphasize and live with the law of cause and effect, and allow that to be in the forefront of our lives so that we can stay balanced and not take it personal and have good effects come into us. So I want to remind you, what are you talking about today? Thank you for being here. God bless you.